Hi, this is Katie Weeks, your independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. And welcome back to the Inspiration Collaboration Design Team Challenge. This month we are sharing our new catalog favorite product. And I have chosen something that it was sort of introduced over the last several months, but then it was fully added to this new catalog. And that is the two-toned 12 by 12 cardstock in every color that Stampin' Up offers. I am so excited that they have added this. Today I'm going to work with Daffodil Delight, and I'm also bringing in Old Olive, and I am also going to be using a Stampin' die set that is featured in this catalog, which is Coneflower Celebrations. And I'll be honest, this was not on my first list of must-have products, but what was on my list of must-have products was the two-tone cardstock in every color. And I still don't have all of the colors. I am certainly building up to those colors, but I still don't have all of them. But I am going to bring in the light side of Old Olive and cut my stem and leaves. And then I'm going to bring in the Daffodil Delight. So I've got a couple leaves here that you can see. And the right side and wrong side makes a difference because of the stamping. And then I have the stem. So I have those finished, and then I'm going to cut my cone flower. Now this flower is huge. I was surprised at the size of it. And I was like, oh my, I could use it on an A2 card. But after looking at it and putting it on that A2 card, I was like, you know, I think I want to put it on a larger card. And I had one 5x7 card still in my stash from Close to My Heart. I only had one left. So that's what I dug out. So here is the cone flower, and it folds over, which is a really neat interactive thing. I'm not real sure if I'm going to use this one or not, but I went ahead and cut it out also, just in case. And then I have one more thing that I want to do. Now, this paper was from an old paper pack, but what I was really going for was that burlap type of print. I wanted something in the browns is what I thought I would use the best. And I'm going to bring in one of my old favorites, which is the Forever Plaid embossing folder. I hope I have the right sandwich. I think this one is a 3D embossing folder. Oops, I have an extra layer. So I'm going to emboss that Forever Plaid just to give it a little bit more texture. So Forever Plaid, I cut to 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. And then I cut the dark side of Old Olive to 4 7/8 by 6 7/8. And I will use that as the basis for my whole card front. So here we have 5x7 card, and you could cut this out of cardstock if you'd like. 4 7/8 by 6 7/8, dark side of Old Olive. Then I just picked a designer series paper that I liked. You could use anything, or you could use pecan pie, would be very pretty. And I embossed it with Forever plaid, and this one is 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. So I'm going to use that as the basis of my card. And I'm going to have my flower on top here. I don't think I'm going to use this because I want to do some stamping and embossing. Just kind of laying out what I think I want it to look like. Okay, I think that'll work. And this month, not only are we talking about new products, we are also talking about heat embossing. So I wanted to do some heat embossing on my card. And so I'm going to bring in my coneflower. Isn't that gorgeous? So much detail. So I'm going to bring that in and I'm going to rub it some. They always come with some sort of coating, like manufacturers, that leaves a little coating on there. So I'm going to rub that off a little bit. I have my Wow embossing powder, the black primary ebony is what it says. And I'm going to use Versamark for my ink. Let's line this up and make sure I have it on everything correct. Not that side. This is the side I want to stamp on, it appears. I'll try not to get my head in this shot. And before I stamp that, I'm going to take my embossing buddy here and just kind of roughly pat it over that. That will keep any stray embossing powder from sticking to the front of that. And I've got my little tray here and I'm all ready to start embossing. Get that nice and stamped up. There we go. Ooh, I can already see it. It's going to be beautiful. I emboss often, but when I emboss, I almost always dry emboss with my embossing folders. So I was kind of excited when we decided this month's challenge would be heat embossing because I simply just have not done that much in quite some time. So I'll set that aside and clean it up later. And I want to get it out of the shot of where my heat gun is going to be hitting. And I'm going to bring in my glass mat because I do not want to melt anything. And this heat gun is quite warm. So when you go to heat your stuff up, you do want to heat the gun up before you start using it on your project. So I'm going to heat that up good and come into my project and keep moving your heat gun continuously. And you will see when it starts to transform and actually start making those little pieces of embossing powder melt. I can already see some of them melting now. They almost get shiny. And when I'm trying to figure out if there's any left that still need heated, I usually hold it up to the light at a different angle to look for any pieces that are not shiny. And it appears to me that everything is shining. Can you see all the shining going on with the lights? I think you get a little bit of reflection from that shining. So maybe just a tad bit in here. But I think for the most part, they're all melted pretty good. Sometimes where it's thicker in the middle, it tends to take a little longer. When I look at a different angle, I think that's pretty good. Okay. So set him aside and make sure you're not going to melt anything because that gets really hot. And I'm going to stamp a little sentiment inside. I think I'm just going to do, "You made my day." We'll do some more heat embossing. Why not? I don't think I got it on there perfectly straight, but it's not going to go on perfectly straight on the card. So I think it will be perfect. And then we still need to do the stem as well, right? So the stem and the leaves, let's bring those in. I probably need to remember to take off that coating. I forgot to do that on the sentiment. Need to make sure that coating is off. And then I need to do the leaves. So Stampin' Up! Is currently having a sale on the two-toned cardstock, and it is 20% off, which is a great deal. So if you are like me and you want to amp up your supply of two-tone cardstock, this is the best time to stock up. And so I'm already placing orders. The sale runs July 11th or 8th through the 11th. So we still have today and tomorrow to get those orders in. So jump on over to katieweeks.stampinup.net and get your order placed while the two-tone cardstock is still on sale. And there's lots of different techniques you can do with this cardstock. You can sand it to reveal the white core that's inside, especially if you were to like dry emboss it, or you can sand around the edges. You can do a lot of distressing. You can tear it so that you can reveal that white core, which is absolutely adorable if you're creating like blue strips that are waves on a layout or something like that. There's just so many different techniques. So make sure you're stocking up on that cardstock today. Perfect. So a few other techniques that you can do with this two-toned cardstock. You can spritz the cardstock and wad it up really tight in a ball and then flatten it out, and it gives it like a leathered look. And then if you want to, when it's dry, you can sand it and it shows a lot of texture that way, and it gives it a lot of depth. Another fun thing is to cut a bunch of strips from one or more of the two-tone colors and then alternate them between the light and the dark. And that will give a lot of dimension to the cards. You can, I had mentioned earlier that you can use embossing folders with it, and that's really fun. If you don't want the white core to show, then I would encourage you to take a little water bottle and spritz it first, and it will help the fibers stretch so that they don't crack. But if you want the white core to show with your embossing, do not spritz it. Run it through the embossing folder with the embossing folder and then sand it. And you can sand it when it's been embossed or even when it's not been embossed. But I would use different types of embossing, like use different grits of sandpaper or different emery boards and sanding blocks like the ones that you can get for your nails and things like that. All the different ones will give a different amount of sanding and a different texture, a different look to the cardstock. So I'd really encourage you, if you haven't played with it, get your hands on some of the two-tone cardstock and just play with it. If you come to one of my crops, I'd be happy to let you have, you know, I always have scraps, tons of scraps when I'm scrapbooking. You can take some of those scraps and try the embossing, try the sanding, try the tearing, try all the different things and just play with it. You really will just love it. And we still have our solid card stock as well. And that is a much thicker cardstock. I still love that thick solid core cardstock, especially to make card bases from because it's so heavy. But in scrapbooking, I like the thinner cardstock so it doesn't weigh down my layout as much and my whole album by using heavy cardstock. And it's a lot more reasonable to purchase. And then right now with the sale, hello, you can't help but get a good deal and be able to add up to your stash and make sure you're building up your supplies. Okay, now we're ready to start assembling. So make sure the card is opening the correct way. And this will have the tiniest, like 1/16 of an inch all the way around. And this one will leave a little bit more than 1/16 of an inch, primarily because when it's embossed, it actually shrinks down a little bit. So it'll give it a little bit larger than the 1/16, but pretty close to that all the way around. And that is great. Now you see some of that got embossed on the back, but that won't matter. You made my day. So with it being embossed and everything, I think I want to use a wet glue on the back. I am not going to go all the way down here because I'm going to be sliding that stem up underneath there. Kind of like that. And you can see I have used both colors of that two-tone cardstock here and here, the dark and the light, both of Old Olive, so it coordinates beautifully. And then you are seeing both sides of the Daffodil Delight on the front, and then with the inside message right there for my little flower. And then I think it needs a little something extra, maybe right here. So I think I'm going to cut some of this polka dot trim that we had, and I probably should have planned this earlier. I want to tuck it underneath. Let's get it under there. Get some glue on both sides so I can tuck it under. Luckily, I remembered before we got it too tightly assembled. There are some things that it just works better with wet glue. I like to do that with my ribbon. Let's hold that for a minute. Tie that off. There you go. There's my card. So the two-tone cardstock is what I'm most excited about, but this Coneflower Celebration bundle is adorable with the stamps, with all of the die cuts, and I could have layered the two shades with this on the front of the card as well. That's another cute idea. So I hope you've enjoyed this. And here's one last look at the card and the stamp set that I used with it, and a little peek inside where it flips up. Make sure you check out the other girls in the Inspiration Collaboration Design team. Like, comment, share, and subscribe for more crafty inspiration.